And welcome everyone to episode 426 of the Thumbstick Athletes podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
I'm Corey.
Today's topic is going to be Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. This is, of course, the full remake that Nintendo released this year of the classic Game Boy game. Corey, one thing I was trying to remember, did we own this game or did we borrow it?
If we borrowed it, it was one of those things where we never gave it back.
Yeah, because I
I don't
know.
remember ever buying it, but
No, I remember Graham had it, and I feel like our cousins had it. Uh, our girl cousins, oddly enough, I think had it for their Game Boy. So I
hmm,
feel like I might have played it there. Um, but I know Graham had it, who was on the show many years ago. But I don't know if we ended up getting it for like Christmas or something. Maybe
I honestly don't remember. I
it's
remember playing it a ton, but I
yeah,
don't remember the origin story of the
yeah.
game.
But it was one of those ones that I mean, you remember how bad the original Game Boy screen was,
Oh yeah.
and you and I each had our own Game Boys, and I remember playing it by my lamp, until all hours of the night, squinting at the little horrible Game Boy screen.
And even the two colors on that screen weren't like contrasting. It was just
Yeah,
like green and like dark green.
dark. Yeah, it was like green and like you said, dark green, dark forest green.
Yeah.
Even I don't know. I feel like even in the sunlight, it
Oh, it was
didn't look
terrible.
that good, but very hard on the eyes. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's our main topic. We will have played a fair amount of that game. Corey, you have anything you want to tease for later on in the episode?
No, nothing new. I might talk a little Hearthstone if I'm feeling freaky, but I
Hmm.
doubt it.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't have anything new to talk about.
I've actually got a couple new things to talk about.
Great.
The first being Untitled Goose game I bought and
Huh.
have played a little bit of. So I'll talk about that. I will also talk about Mario Kart Tour, which I've been playing a fair amount of. So I'll talk about those games when we do our what we played segment. So, I don't think we have anything too big to talk about news wise, but yeah, a few new games this week, so that's good. Let's get into the main segment, Corey. How much have you played of Link's Awakening? First off.
Quite a bit. I am through 6 of the 9
Oh wow.
dungeons.
Okay.
Is that how many there are? I think I have 3 more instruments to go. However many total there are, I'm not sure.
I think there's 8, if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
So then I have 5. I've gotten 5 instruments, and I mean I've done a ton of side stuff. My heart gauge is onto the second row, and I think I only have 4 hearts left to finish the second row
Hmm.
of hearts. So quite a bit. I couldn't put an hour on it. If I had to guess, I would probably say between 10 and 15 somewhere.
Okay.
So not a ton of hours, but pretty far into the game.
Yeah, I've got 3 of the instruments. I just finished the third dungeon. Like you, I'm trying to do as much of the side exploration stuff as I can, trying to gather all the seashells, poke around all the little corners, nooks and crannies that are in the game. Trying to remember the places that I couldn't access earlier in the game that when you get the right tools, you can go back and get later. Uh, Mostly just by making a mental notation, but I'm sure I'm going to miss some of those, but I'll probably look them up eventually.
Hmm.
But yeah, as for an hour count, I would guess between 6 and 8 hours, maybe put into it. I'd like to actually address the complaints first, and get them out of the way. And there's really only been 2 that I've seen, and that's the ultimate length of the game in relation to the cost, which we've talked about at length for some games, getting your dollar value per hour for the game, and then the frame rate drops. Those are really the only complaints I've seen about it. So, Cora, what's your thoughts on those 2 topics?
Yeah, and I disagree with the length one, but maybe that's just me because it's just a long nostalgia trip for
Yeah.
me anyway. But I don't know. I guess I could see it for people that hadn't played the game and had just finished playing Breath of the Wild and are expecting, hundreds of hours of entertainment.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, there's still short games. They're still making short campaign-based games, but I guess those have a multiplayer component or some sort of thing to keep yourself entertained. And I think that's what they were going for with the Dampy's dungeon stuff where
Hmm.
you can kind of build your own dungeon. But I don't
Which,
know.
which by the way, came out of Legend of Zelda Maker idea. They
Yeah.
actually had tossed that around
Yep.
and decided there was a little too much needing to have puzzles go in the right order and stuff
Right.
for that to actually work out. So
Yeah, and that was my thought too. Like to me, I would in doing the Dampy's dungeon stuff. It seemed like it was kind of a trial run for what a Zelda Maker would look like. I know they wouldn't do a Zelda Maker in like the Breath of the Wild
yeah,
engine, but I could absolutely see a Zelda Maker with this with these graphics, couldn't you?
yeah, and I think I brought up this idea a couple months ago, but if you were to make it so that it could switch between, say, the original on the Nintendo, A Link to the
Hmm.
Past, maybe one of the Game Boy ones, which would like Link Between Worlds or something like that, and then this one,
Yeah,
being able to switch the flip of a button, I think would be awesome.
right. I agree. But not to get too far ahead of myself, the other complaint was the frame rate drops, and I do kind of agree with that one. Although it doesn't really impact my enjoyment of the game. It's such a pretty game to look at. I feel
Hmm.
like they did such a good job with the art style and the nice, cute little adorable touches in the game. And every now and again, you get those frame rate drops, and it just reminds you that you know not everything is perfect,
Yeah, sure.
which kind of sucks, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. As far as the hours thing goes, I'm with you. You know, we used to be we still kind of are, but not as much as we used to be big into the consumer view of things, and we used to calculate games value based on the amount of hours you get out of it. That's not as much the case anymore because I know none of us have as much game time as we used to. I think of someone like Eric, who probably plays the least amount of games out of all of us. And when he plays games, it's mostly socially. Like he likes to play with his friends, play with us, play with Jeff. That's his social time. So Doug's entertaining the crowd in the
Sorry.
background. No, that's fine. But I don't really do that as much anymore. I try to take every game based on the value it gives me. And personally, like you, Corey, this whole game is a nostalgia trip, and I'm amazed at how much I both remember and forgot about the game.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh my god, this is like exactly the way I remember it happening. What was it? I think the original came out in 1993, so it would
Hmm.
have been 26 years ago. Um, and then and then there's a ton of stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not remember this at all.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's
Yep.
very weird because playing other old games. I'll use A Link to the Past as an example because I've been playing that recently too. Like I barely remember any of that game. I don't know why specifically this one I remember so much about it
Hmm.
because I probably played them about the same time. They came out about the same time as far
Yeah.
as you know all those years ago.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point, that was my main takeaway from the Link's Awakening remake is like the mind is such a funny thing because I like struggle to remember things at work, that
Yeah.
we just talked about the day before.
Yep.
But then playing Link's Awakening, like it was like riding a bike. Like I knew just to walk right up to a bush and cut it down and pull out my shovel, and I knew there was a seashell under there. Like little itty bitty details that I haven't thought about in 20 years.
Yeah.
Like just immediately coming back to me. It's crazy how that works. But I do find myself the further I get into the game, the less I'm remembering,
Yeah.
which just makes me think, well, okay, when I was a kid, this stuff was a lot harder, so I probably didn't get as far into the game as many times as I did that early stuff over and over again.
Yeah. I think I only ended up beating it once. I think I played it a bunch of times, and like you, for whatever reason, like I said, I'm not sure if we borrowed it from someone and they wanted it back or what have you, but I probably only beat it once ultimately.
Yeah.
Do you remember if you beat it back in the
Yeah,
day?
I beat it at least once. I have a feeling too. It was like I beat it in one day too. I vaguely remember just sitting down and just playing it all day one day and beating it.
Okay.
I think I had gotten that familiar with everything. But even like remembering when I climbed up on the mountain and remembering, oh, this guy needs the hibiscus. I'm not even going to talk to him because I don't have the hibiscus.
Yeah.
Like how does like again, I haven't thought of that in over probably 20 years.
And
So,
you were a lot younger than I
yeah.
was when all that
Yeah.
was going on. So
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as far like you as far as I finish my thought, like I don't feel like this game is not worth it at $60.
Totally
I
agree.
think it's a great game. I think it stands alone, even if you don't necessarily have the nostalgia for it that we do. There's a lot of stuff that a newcomer can experience here. I guess you have to decide for yourself whether you think. I've seen anywhere from like 8 to 12 hours for the average playthrough for this game. It's going to take me longer. It's already taken you longer.
Hmm.
Um, but we like to try to collect everything and do everything. So yeah, I think it's worth it. Frame rate, like you, it's a little bit annoying. It seems to happen more when you're like changing areas. It'll stutter a little bit. I don't really necessarily get them when I'm like fighting anything, so that would be the place where it would affect me. But it just seems to be when it's transitioning from one scene to another. But like you said, it's such a pretty game that you wish that wasn't there
Right.
because it's just irritating enough
Yep.
to be worth
Pull you out
mentioning.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, as far as how it looks, to me, it looks like someone's really high quality creative art project that you're playing. Like that's the sense I get from it. It also almost reminds me of like Yoshi's Woolly World, or what was the most recent Yoshi game? But that just looks like it looks like an art project that you're playing
Yeah.
as a video game. It's a very nice looking art style. Everything's nice and shiny and
Yep.
clean.
Yep.
And then the blur around the edges of the screen too. I don't know what it is about that, but it just I don't know. It adds to it. I don't know if that's a frame rate enhance, if that helps with the frame rate, or maybe that hurts it. I don't know, but it just looks so good.
Or is it a metaphor for the dream world you're in?
It could very well be. Nintendo likes to sneak those things in on you. So
Yeah. Um, I don't. I feel like you can't talk about the graphics without talking about the music.
oh, definitely not.
So I forget the name of the. What's the name of the main village? Not Kokoriku, but what's it called?
Oh, I'm not going to be able
Can't
to
think
call
of it.
Mabe
Yukuku?
Village.
Oh, it's the Yukuku Plains or something like
Yeah,
that. I don't
Ukuku
know.
Plains.
And then May Village is the main village. Probably one of my favorite arrangements in
Hmm.
video games. It reminded me of playing Undertale for the first time and
Oh yeah,
hearing the music in Undertale. It's a different kind of music because this is like orchestral and arranged, but it's beautiful when they switch from strings to horns to I don't know what else they're playing in there, some sort of flute or something like that or
yeah.
piccolo. It's beautiful. Um, yeah, and it's just it shows the level of detail they went into in care they put into this kind of remake. And I was trying to think of other video game remakes that are on this level, and I couldn't really come up with anything.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played a lot of them, but it's hard to for me to put such an old game into such a modern way of game building
Hmm.
and have it retain so much of what made it charming in the first place.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a very hard thing for them to do. And I think they excelled at it. It looks fantastic, like you said. The music is fantastic. Everything about it is modern, but it retains the charm of the old game.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a spectacular achievement,
Yep.
I think.
Well, I think a lot of the charm too just comes from the gameplay, which they didn't mess too much with. There's some quality of life changes there, but all the
Yeah.
little side stuff like the claw machine and the I even remembered that you could steal from the shopkeeper. Did you
Oh,
remember that?
yeah. And he
You
hits you
can,
with lightning.
yep, you can steal the bow early on if you want, and then in the old version of the game, your name becomes thief. It changes from whatever you had it to just thief. I don't know what it does in
Oh,
this game. I didn't want to steal in this game, but yeah, just like stuff like that. Even like the fishing and the riding the rapids and like all that stuff is just, it's so much fun. And it's, I don't know, just the slow drip of tools, just it makes the world that you've already seen most of so organic, because you can just retread your steps and just find new things every time you get a new tool. There's always something else to uncover in an area you've been to 100 times.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the remake part of it is excellent, but I also feel like it was a classic to begin with. So
Yeah.
they just put lipstick on a, that's not a good metaphor. I was gonna say lipstick on a pig, but it's more like
Right.
lipstick on a supermodel.
Sure.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, lipstick on a supermodels. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because the kind of in the background, there's a lot of people coming out and saying, Link's Awakening has always been and always will be my favorite Legend of Zelda game. So there is that faction of people that's their favorite LOZ game. So
I mean, yeah, I would probably agree with that, with the exception of Breath of the Wild. But I mean,
right.
Breath of the Wild is in a class of its own.
Yep.
So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I was trying to think back, and it would definitely be up there for me. It's definitely the one I spent the most time playing,
hmm
other than Breath of the Wild. I played Link to the Past too, but I really don't feel like I played it nearly as much as like I said, squinting on the. And I wonder if access was part of the reason why we were able to play this game. I feel like our parents had a little more control over the Super Nintendo than they did over the Game Boys.
that's a good point. We could
Try,
always pull out the Game Boy and play all night if we wanted.
exactly, where we couldn't. It was a little bit more difficult to get away with playing the consoles
Yeah.
late at night. But it also brought me back to the days where you remember turning the volume down on the Game Boy so you could get more battery life out of it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I don't think I was ever that.
if you turn the volume off or down, it extended the battery because it took what was it, 4 AA batteries, and we were kids and didn't have any money, so we relied on our parents to buy us batteries.
They never had batteries.
We never had batteries in the house, so we would do anything we could to make sure we had as much game time as possible. So that was another memory that playing this game triggered.
Yep.
Like I said, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to your point about the music, Corey, because it is a full orchestral soundtrack, and it just blends so perfectly with the game. And so I've been playing the game on my Rated G Games YouTube channel, slowly playing through it. And there's probably 3 or 4 times where I stopped whatever I was doing in the game just to listen to the music and comment on how good the music was. It's really, really spectacular. I always do it after you collect an instrument. After you beat a boss, there's like a song that plays that's like the calm after the storm.
Yeah.
And it's it's a very cathartic song, very relaxing song, and very well done song. So
Hero mode.
Great stuff. I'm playing in hero mode.
Good. So one of my friends who hadn't played the original game started playing before me, and he recommended to play on hero mode, and I started looking it up, and that seemed to be the consensus for most people, that they were glad that they didn't have to unlock hero mode because the game would have been way too easy otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I agree with that. Do you, Dan?
Yeah.
I think it would have been too easy if
yeah, it's just right now. I think it's only going to get easier too, as you progress, because once you get like, I'm at the point now where I can go to Tracy and get her medicine, so when you die you recover. You get fairies that you can collect and put in bottles that help you recover when you die. But yeah, the more hearts you get, obviously the stronger you are, the better weapons and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of difficulty at the beginning when you only have 3 hearts and you're taking 2 full hearts damage every time you get hit.
Yep.
I have to be a little more careful. And I'm glad I did that because I feel like it made me better at the game, like right off the bat, and more careful. And
yeah,
because it's just the main difference is that you don't get hearts randomly, right, from things.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
But another thing I like about this game is, and I talk about this in other games too, is it's like the idea of like the carrot on the stick. You can gauge how powerful you're becoming because the enemies in the overworld you're always running into them.
Mm-hmm.
And early on, like, they can be a challenge because, as you mentioned, you only have 3 hearts. But later on, you can just kind of plow right through them with whatever, whether it be the hook shot or the, I don't know if it's spoilers to talk about the tools, so I won't say anymore. But yeah, it's just as you progress, you become so much more powerful, and you can see that power, and that's such a good feeling when you're out in the overworld. When you get into the dungeons, it's a little more difficult
Mm.
depending on how far you are. But I don't know. I just really like that idea of feeling your progression. So you're not, as much as I like a good difficulty curve, and I think there is one in this game, I also like to be reminded of where I started and how far I've come.
Yeah.
And I think this game does that masterfully.
Yeah, because it goes back to your point about needing to retread your ground.
Hmm. Yep.
That's the perfect opportunity for you to see your progress because you're going back to see if you missed anything. You're constantly trekking back to the village for various reasons because it's not a huge game world.
Right.
It's there's a lot of stuff going on in the game world, but it's
Hmm.
not very big. I was surprised. I looked at the map, which is exceptionally detailed too. By the way, I don't know if that was a new thing or if that was the case on the Game Boy game, but I was
I
trying to
hardly
figure.
remember there being a map in I'm sure there probably was, but it
Yeah,
was
I know there
probably pretty
was, but I
rough.
couldn't tell you what it looked like. I'll have to look it up later because I'm curious. Um, but yeah, I was looking for trying to find a path to one of the dungeons that I was getting to, and got a little confused. So I looked at the map, and I was surprised to see that I'd uncovered a little more than half the map already, and it was I was maybe 2 dungeons into it, so I don't have that much more to go. But there's like tons of stuff to do, within that small area.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I was gonna bring up something else, now I forgot. Anyway,
Yeah, good stuff though.
it's really good.
Yeah, I don't think I have any other thoughts. It's very satisfying to swing the sword. I actually read an article. I think I was on Kotaku or maybe Destructoid about how satisfying it is to swing the sword, and I've
Hmm.
spent a lot of time just cutting the grass and recutting the grass, and cutting the plants and recutting the plants, just because it feels good and that you get a lot of rupees doing that.
Yeah.
So, but it's a very
Um,
satisfying sword swing.
Quality of life improvements. I
Hmm.
feel like those are worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest one is probably the well, man, it's probably not the biggest one, but was the color dungeon in the first game? Do you remember the color dungeon?
The color dungeon I think was added for the DX version of the
Okay.
game. I think.
I had a feeling it was like I remembered it, but I didn't. I don't know. You must be right about that
Yeah.
because I didn't think it was in the original game. But yeah, so some of the quality of life improvements I know. I feel like they expanded the amount of rupees you can carry. I feel like you maxed out at 999 in the old game.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, so if you bought something, the bow and arrow, which I don't know if the bow and arrow was 980 in the old game, but in this one it's 980. But it sucked because if you hit that 999 mark, any rupee you picked up was just lost
Pointless,
rupee,
yeah.
which was frustrating. But now, I mean, I think I have almost 2,000 rupees right now. I still haven't bought the bow and arrow, by the way. Very far into the game,
Uh-huh.
haven't needed it. So that's nice. Help me out, Dan. What else did they add? I had a list in front of me and now I can't find it.
Is the save system different?
I'm not sure. I've never really saved because every time I die, I just hit the retry and I'm pretty much right where I used to be.
Okay. Yeah, I have to make sure I save because my son likes to play it too.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure it's saved and you know shut down so that when he takes it out, it doesn't erase my game because that can happen. I guess.
I'm just gonna steal from Polygon here.
Uh huh.
This article's by Russ Frushtick. The dungeon builder we already talked a little bit about. There's not much to that. You just kind of you build a dungeon based on dungeon squares that you've already been through.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of interesting, but I'm not sure what the end game is. You can unlock some stuff like pieces of heart and seashells and stuff like that, but I kind of wish there was more to it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not bad. Oh, that was the biggest one that kept leaving my mind was the ability to mark the map.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Because when Dan, you were saying like trying to remember where everything was that you couldn't get to.
Yeah.
I early on uncovered that you could mark the map. So every tool that I needed, I set to a different icon. So like early on, I put a circle everywhere I knew I needed a bomb on the
Oh,
map.
It's a good
So when I
idea.
walked by, I would just tag it with a circle. So then once I got the bombs, I could just go back to those areas, blow them up, and I did the same for all of them.
That's genius. I
It made it
wish I had
pretty,
thought of that.
yeah, it made it really handy. Because it also kind of indicated where I was supposed to go next.
Right.
Just by looking at the map, I could see, oh, I haven't been able to access this area because I didn't have this tool. The controls on the Game Boy, there were just two buttons,
Yeah.
right? A and B, and the D-pad, which was your directions, and start and select. But this one, the Rock's Feather is just. Oh no, the Rock's Feather you have to assign to a button, but like the boots, the sprinting boots, are just always the left trigger.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to. What else don't you have to equip?
The shield.
The shield. The shield's always equipped. The bracelet's always equipped. So you're only assigning things to the X and Y button, like the feather, the hook shot, so on and so forth. Bombs, yep. Which is really, really nice. There's fairy bottles now. I didn't remember that there wasn't in the old game, but that's been pretty handy, especially playing on hero mode because you're not picking up any hearts.
Yeah.
Keeps you going. Yeah, that's all. Those are the big ones, I think. I'm sure there's more. There's like little itty bitty things I noticed. I remember in the original game, if you were right next to an object like a plant that you could run through with the boots, if you were right next to it in the old game, if you started sprinting, you would bounce off of it.
Yeah, even if it was just a plant.
Yep. In this game, you go right through it, which is a very minor change, but I just happened to remember that was the case, and it's good to see that somebody thought it was a good idea to get rid of that.
Yeah, that's still the case in A Link to the Past.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's frustrating.
But I mean, that's the original game, so.
Right. Was the seashell tuning fork in the original game? Have you gotten that?
No.
Okay, I should stop because I feel like I'm gonna spoil stuff.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. It'll all come back to me once I get there. I remember all the things.
All right. Well, since I brought it up, I didn't remember the seashell tuning fork, but that doesn't mean it didn't exist.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. They made a lot of meaningful improvements, and it's still an awesome game.
Yeah. Yeah. I adore it. It's the most adorablest game. Or one of the most adorablest games. It's up there. It's up there with like Stardew Valley as most adorablest game.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. Any other thoughts? Link's Awakening, Corey?
No.
If you have a Switch, it's a must play.
I agree. It's nice that Will split it with me because I'm just gonna send it to him, and I'm gonna try to beat it this weekend, and then I'll get Will to play it, and then I can trade it in because I probably will never replay it as much as I like it.
Yeah, I'll play it again at some point. I should say too, I always get physical physical copies with stuff I know my son is going to play too. So, because the Switch is still fussy about game sharing, so I always get physical copies for that. Makes it easier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Corey, do you have anything for Nibblebits?
I just quickly called up the news just now. I thought this was interesting. I haven't really dug into it much, but a French court ruled that Steam users can resell their games. Did you see that?
I heard a little bit about that. I never read further.
Which doesn't really make sense to me because Steam has been pretty open all along that Steam users don't own their games. They're on rental more or less from Steam.
Yeah.
Of course, Valve intends to appeal the ruling, but we'll see. I don't know. How do you feel about that? How would you like to see that shake out?
I don't know. It's a tough call because that would be a whole new system that they would have to test and implement and make sure there's no fraud. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that try to rip people off of like Counter-Strike Go items and all that stuff. Like, that's a big undertaking. It's not just as simple as letting Steam users sell their games. And if I think if they do have to do that in did you say France?
Yeah.
That's probably just a feature they would roll out everywhere, I would think.
Yeah.
yeah, I wonder what the time frame would have to be. Like, it's not as easy as just pushing a button and saying you can sell your games now, you know?
Yeah, I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
I don't feel like Steam should have to do that. Again, like I said, they've been very open about what's actually going on.
Yeah, and not just that, but you had to know when you bought the games from Steam that you didn't have a way of reselling them. I think that's one of the things we have to accept when we buy digital copies of games, you know.
Yeah. So, just reading this, the court's ruling classifies these sales as digital licenses rather than subscriptions, thus allowing them to be resold in the same way that physical games have been resellable. So they're saying that you should be able to resell the digital license
Gotcha.
to play the game.
Yeah. I like you, I'm interested to see how that's all going to shake out. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, Corey?
No, that's it. If you have a couple, I'll keep reading and see if anything else jumps out at me.
Yeah,
But
I only ended up having one thing that I tweeted. But one big thing actually that's been a major part of the gaming zeitgeist was the announcement of a release date for Last of Us 2. Which is going to
yeah,
be February 21st, I believe is the date. Didn't write it down, but I saw it a bunch of places. I'm pretty sure it's the 21st. February 21st, 2020. So people are very, very, very excited for that. So that was announced at the Sony State of Play. The thing I brought up to talk about was that the Project X Cloud is going to be testing. I think it starts early next month, and you can sign up online to do it. Probably just type in a link somewhere. Maybe if I'm feeling motivated, I'll put a link on our Twitter feed. But you have to have it's Android only for now, and you have to have a Bluetooth Xbox controller that can connect to your phone. So I had both of those things, so I signed up to try it. They said that they'll be notifying people shortly. So I'm intrigued on how all this is going to go too. This is obviously the Google Stadia competitor. But if I can play my games with my Game Pass subscription, I think that's fantastic. So
yeah,
then I won't even need to worry about Stadia.
yeah. I'm with you there. You have to let me know how it goes.
Yeah, we'll do. I hope I get into the test. I'm not sure if I will or not. They said there's limited parts or limited openings.
Yeah, it's artificial scarcity.
Fair enough, yeah. But that's all I have. If you have anything else, Corey.
You know what? You talking about that reminded me. I just saw today the headline that Facebook announced Horizon, their VR world.
Uh huh.
Did you see anything about that?
No, what's that? What's that anime where you go into and play the MMORPG?
Pretty much, yeah. Oh shoot, I watched it too. There's Gun Gale Online, which was the follow Sword Art Online.
Sword Art. That's what it is. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a couple now. There's another one I watched. I can't remember the name of, but let me just call this up quick. Facebook announces Horizon, a VR massive multiplayer world. Launching in early 2020, allow users to design their own diverse avatars and hop between virtual locales through portals called telepods, watch movies, and consume other media with friends and play multiplayer games together, like Wing Strikers. Right, Dan? We all love Wing Strikers.
I don't know what that is.
Me neither. It will also include human guides known as Horizon Locals who can give users assistance and protect their safety in the VR world so trolls can't run rampant. And that is according to TechCrunch.
Interesting.
You can apply for the beta. Should I apply for the beta?
Yeah. Well, might as well.
Ugh, I really.
Well, can you? What sort of VR device do you need?
That's a good question. Social VR experiences, Facebook Spaces, and Oculus Rooms.
It's probably Oculus something or other.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
But if you can do the mobile headset, that would be something I would try.
Seems like a modernized Second Life, a first-person Sims.
Huh.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, this is our future, right? Our eventual future, where we're just living
In the Matrix.
In the Matrix, and
Yeah.
yeah, we're in pods, and our VR bodies are enjoying another world where we can
Oh,
do
that
whatever
reminds
we
me.
want.
This is related but not related. I don't know if you saw the video for the Boston Dynamics Atlas robot doing a gymnastics routine.
I don't think so. Is
Oh
that
my
the one that looks like
gosh.
a dog?
No, it's made by the same company. This is one. Let me. Let's see. Boston Dynamics. Yeah,
While you're looking that up, Dan,
watch this in the on the stream. It's crazy.
I've been listening to a podcast. Oh wow,
That's a robot.
that's wild.
The balance is incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
it freaks me out a
For
little bit.
the podcast listeners, the video Dan's showing me, it looks like an actual person. I mean, it looks like a robot, but
It looks
the
like,
movements are like a person doing the robot.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's a
Um,
little stiff, but it's so human at the same time.
yeah. I mean, it looks like an old person trying to get around,
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
but also able to do backflips and all that stuff. But
That's
anyway,
awesome.
go ahead.
Speaking of the future, I wanted to give a little credit to what the heck's the guy's name? Isaac Arthur. Have you heard of Isaac Arthur?
I've heard the name.
So he has a podcast called Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur.
Okay.
And us talking about that made me think of it. It's really cool if you're into that kind of stuff because he's the type of person that thinks about I mean, this is what futurists do. They think about this stuff not only in terms of where technology is going, but like they incorporate things like physics and philosophy to kind of determine what the likely outcome will be in the future. It's really entertaining. He just talks the whole time, which can, if you're not focused, you could lose interest pretty easily, but really interesting. He has a YouTube channel too. I just wanted to give him a shout out here. And he lives like a couple hours from me, so that's always cool.
Is he from like MIT or?
I have no idea, Dan. To me, he just seems like a guy who likes science fiction and science
Huh.
and started a podcast, but he
Oh,
could be an MIT guy. I really don't
where
know.
does he? Where is he from?
I know that he lives on, is it Oneida Lake?
Oh, oh wow.
Is that the big lake
Yeah,
north of
yeah,
Syracuse?
yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, wow, that's cool. I'll have to. You know what? I'll add it to my podcast list right now because my wife's been listening to a lot of podcasts. She might be interested in that too. So, what was it called? Isaac Arthur.
Science and Futurism with Isaac Arthur.
Okay, Isaac Arthur. Got it. Okay, I'm gonna subscribe right now.
The most recent episode I listened to, although I didn't get that far into it, was space sports.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, that's it for Nibble Bits. I think I don't have anything else. Corey, how's your week?
My week was good. Really, really slammed at work. It's annual planning time, which is when we all internally figure out what we want to do for our clients next year,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of a nightmare. But I don't know. You got to do it.
Right.
It's one of those things. So I've been slammed at work, and it's you go in there and you just kind of feel like you don't have a minute to think because you're just getting pulled in so many different directions at any given moment. But you get through it, and then you have summers to slow down a little bit. But I did go see Doug Stanhope last night.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that was
Yeah.
last night.
How familiar are you with Doug Stanhope?
I've only heard like excerpts of his jokes from other places.
Yeah, so it was an office outing, and a lot of people from the office went last year, and everybody said he was absolutely terrible.
Uh-huh.
I guess he was really drunk and just not that funny.
Okay.
So
he having an off night maybe.
yeah, so I think there was like 7 of us that went this time. But everybody also said he's like really offensive and he's very inappropriate. So don't go if you're sensitive. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, my favorite comedy is the kind that's the
Yeah.
most
It's
inappropriate.
got to make you feel uncomfortable, at least
Yeah,
at least a little
exactly.
bit.
Well, and it made me think of, you remember that episode of The Office where Steve Carell runs into David Brent, the
Oh, Ricky Gervais?
Ricky Gervais,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, like comedy is where the mind goes to tickle itself. And I'm like, that's a really good way to put it, because it doesn't, I mean, it's just what you find funny in your head has no bearing on how you feel about things in the real world. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with very offensive comedy. Nothing's off limits in my opinion.
Sure.
But I went, and I have to be honest, it might have been the best stand up I have ever been to.
Really?
I haven't been to a ton of stand up, but
Yeah.
we would go to shoot, my memory is just not working today. But
Sure.
when we lived in New York, we would go to some underground theaters to see stand up, and
Uh-huh.
like Upright Citizens Brigade a few times.
Uh-huh.
Is it UCB?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I never really saw a big name. He's probably the biggest name comedian I've seen. But speaking of that, I got tickets to go see Tina Fey for free here
Oh,
at
really?
Hamilton,
Oh,
which I think
wow.
is pretty cool. But that's
That's
another
cool.
aside. But anyway, Doug Stanhope was awesome. He had two openers that were also awesome. They were both lesbians, but one was from the South, so she was like very much about lesbian humor, but also about like how awesome guns are and why everybody should have guns, which is just like, it's not a dynamic you're seeing today.
Not just
Um,
that, but that's not usually the consensus here in upstate New York, you know?
yeah, right. But Doug Stanhope came on, and he hysterical is the only. I laughed the entire time, like my mouth hurt. That's
Uh-huh.
how much I was smiling and laughing the whole time. But my favorite, my maybe not my favorite, but the most relevant bit that I can give on this podcast is he was talking about Syracuse. He had another bit about something else, and then at the end of it, he's just like, Syracuse is known for absolutely nothing. Like, that's what he said. And of course, everybody laughed because it was in Syracuse, so
Yeah.
everybody thought that was funny. But then he started talking about how he's like, I come to all these shit towns, and, and I'm not gonna remember any of you, and just like stuff like that. And he's
Yeah.
like, you guys didn't make the cut for the shit tour list the shit tour that we do. He's like, we go to these little shit towns and put the poster on the wall calling it the shit town tour, and people love it. And he's like, just this year we moved Binghamton to the shit town tour. And I'm like, oh man,
Yes. That's
that's my home
fantastic.
city.
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know, it was really funny, and it kind of made me a fan. I had seen bits and pieces here and there,
Yeah.
but I never really watched like a full special of his or anything.
Uh-huh.
But to round out my story, he finished recording a special like 3 months ago, he had said, which for people that don't know how these comedians, how they work, they'll tour around and just try out different jokes, like focus groups. He actually called us a focus group. He's like, you guys are nothing but a focus group to me,
Uh-huh.
for their jokes. And they kind of figure out what makes people laugh, what plays well where, and then once they have the best version of that, they'll record a special. So I'm thinking, because he had just recorded his special and was on this tour, he had his act down really good.
Gotcha.
And I think that's why it was so good this time, and last time it was not. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm a fan now.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like Corolla might have had him on his podcast a couple times when we were
Yeah, I
when
could
we were
see them
listening.
getting along together really well together.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad you had a good time.
Oh, it was a blast. It was much needed too. It was one of those days where I just needed a couple beers and some laughs, and
Yeah.
that's what I got.
Nice. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, TV movie recommendation.
Yeah. Let's hear
Speaking
it.
of science and futurism, Time Trap on Netflix.
Time Trap.
It's bad. It's a bad movie. I'll just say it. But the concept is really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to spoil it, but it's about this professor who goes looking for his parents, who in the late 70s, early 80s were hippies looking for the fountain of youth. They end up getting lost in what he thinks is this cave. The professor goes. His students are worried about him because the professor hasn't come back, so the students go to look for him. Everybody ends up getting stuck in this cave, and things just change. That's all I'll say. It's worth watching if you're into science fiction.
Okay.
Even though the acting is not great, it's definitely be production levels, but really, really interesting concept, and I love the way it ends, and I really hope they do a sequel.
Nice. Okay.
That's all I wanted to say.
All right. I got a couple quick things. I had a really strange worlds collide moment last night, actually, on TV. I don't know if you've heard of this, Corey, but my wife was watching the Masked Singer while I was playing Mario Kart Tour on my phone, and the way the show works is, the person gives a performance, and then the panel tries to guess who it is, and the better you do, the longer you stay on the show. So they'll unmask at the end of the show. They'll unmask, whoever performed the worst or whatever. But they always have an intro video before they perform every time, giving a little bit more hints about their past for the panel to try to guess who it was. And the performer was the ice cream, because like I said, they're in a full mask. When they do talking and interviews and stuff, their voice is masked, so you can't tell who it is. They really high pitched or really low pitched or what have you. They change the voice, and so this person was talking about how they had a different path to fame, and they mentioned having millions of viewers, and immediately I was like, it's Ninja. It's Ninja. I just know it. Well, sure enough, as the show progressed, the person ended up, they lost. I think it's called like a smack off or whatever, singing against another singer who also didn't do as well. And when they unveiled, it was Tyler Blevin's Ninja, and it was just such a weird moment. Like, this is a prime time television show. With a gaming icon nowadays. It was just so weird.
Well, that's for the YouTubes, right? Because now they can post a YouTube video of Ninja's performance on the show, and people will then become familiar with the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was genius, because he's God to
Oh yeah,
like elementary and middle school kids. So
well, even I know some adults that love. You like
I
Ninja,
do.
right?
I like Ninja. Yeah, I bought his book. I watch his streams on occasion.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
I don't know anything about him, but
he's
based on the people I know that like him, I think he's an all right guy.
Yeah, he does seem like an all right guy. I've obviously never met him, but it was just it was so weird, because I told my wife didn't really know anything about him other than that I had his book. But yeah, I told my wife, I was like, that's Ninja, and she looked him up as he was doing his performance, and I figured because of some of his mannerisms and some of the hints that it was him, but it was so weird. I don't know. It was a little disconcerting, not disconcerting. I don't know. Like I said, it was weird. I can't really even describe the feeling, but it was cool at the same time, and I was glad for him to come to a mainstream, because one of the closest person that I don't remember who it was, but someone guessed it was PewDiePie. So everyone else wasn't even close. Someone thought it was a skateboarder. Someone thought it was Deadmau5, because of the like I said, the different path to fame.
Who is guessing again? Is it just audience members?
No, it's a panel of celebrities. So it was Robin Thicke was one of them. Ken Jeong is one of them. Nicole Scherzinger.
Oh God. Yep. I know her.
Jenny McCarthy is the other one. Before, so Jenny McCarthy knew who he was right away. Robin Thicke had no idea who it was. It's kind of funny, but anyway. So yeah, that was weird. I've had almost a week with my new phone, and I adore it. Took a little while getting used to. I don't know if you have a similar experience with iPhones, Corey, but with Android phones, they're so different that when you get a new phone, that you have to learn how to use it all over again.
I think that's the perk of being an iPhone user, is it doesn't change much. It doesn't change at all really from phone to phone. When they update the iOS, it changes just a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So this is obviously it runs vanilla Android, which I really like because it's a lot more snappy. Since I've had Samsung phones for the past almost probably 5 years. I had the Note 5 and then I upgraded to the Note 8. So it's 5 years of Samsung phones. But it's nice not to have the Samsung bloatware on it. It's all Google stuff, so it runs really well. I'm
Nice.
surprised at the amount of upgrade it is from my old phone because it's only a year newer, and the quality of the pictures, the quality of the screen, how much more snappy it is really really unbelievable. It does have the notch, which I don't love, but I have a wallpaper that hides it, and
What's the notch?
uh, it's where the front facing cameras are on the front of the phone. Let's see. If I
Oh,
can,
got you.
yeah. Trying to think of an app that. Okay, so this is Twitter. It's got a big notch too.
It's cut off. Move it in front of your face.
Oh, you've got the wrong camera. That's for the stream.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got a notch.
Yeah, it's annoying, but I have a black wallpaper, so for the most part, I don't even see it,
Oh yeah,
which is the
yeah.
way to do it. And then a lot of apps, it's just like a black status bar up on the top. But yeah, it's a great phone. For all you have Pixel, it's the Pixel 3 XL. I don't know if I said that. I was planning on waiting for the Pixel 4 or maybe going to get a Galaxy Note 10, but this was less than half the price of those phones. So, if I need a new phone in a year, it won't be that much to pay off to get a new one. So
I can't even keep track of those anymore.
it's a lot.
Yeah, there's just I don't know. While you're talking about phones, though, I speaking of the iOS upgrades too, they just upgraded to iOS 13,
Uh-huh.
and they added dark mode.
That was a big
Something,
that was a big thing on Android 10 too. That just came
yeah.
out.
And I also Sophie's brother told me that Android has had this feature for a very long time, but they also added the slide texting.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, you just I don't know.
I don't use it,
It's like
but I
mind
know a lot of
blowing to
people that
me.
do.
Yeah, you just slide to the letters you want rather than having to lift your thumb, and it almost 100% of the time accurately predicts the word you want to say, and that's it.
Yeah, I could never, I could never get the hang of that. It just feels it's too unnatural. But
Yeah.
people that know how to use that can text super fast.
Yep.
I'm just too old, I think, at this point to learn something new.
And that's the thing, Dan. I keep like telling myself that that's how you become old is when you stop trying to learn new things because you feel like you're too old. So I always force myself to just like figure things out, even though I find myself more and more being unwilling to.
Right. For me, it's more. I just don't feel like I need to teach myself a new way of texting. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. The old way works best.
Why can't everyone text like we've been texting for 15
Yeah,
years?
it's funny because text messages weren't even a thing until I was probably in my mid 20s was when it started like taking off. So yeah,
Yeah, it was
mid
probably a little earlier
mid to early
because
20s.
yeah, I had my first phone when I was 16
Uh,
or so. Oh, so maybe you're right. Maybe you were in your mid 20s because
yeah,
I knew
because
you didn't text. We weren't texting that early. You're
no,
right. It was
it was
probably
text
a couple
messaging
years after
was a
that.
weird thing at first because of the it was
Cost.
only a keypad too.
Yep.
You
And
didn't
it
have
cost
full
money. It was
keyboards.
10 cents a text or something like that.
Yeah.
There was no unlimited.
Yep.
But yeah, it was the T9 texting. You remember the T9 texting
Oh
where you
yeah.
had to press the same button a few times to get the letter that you wanted?
Yeah. It probably
I got
wasn't until BlackBerry started becoming popular that texting became more popular.
You're probably right. I got really freaking good at the T9 though.
Yeah,
Let's bring that back.
I don't think I ever did. I was never very good, and still am not at communication. So hasn't improved. Okay. So I don't think I have anything else to talk about for my week. I'm still working on studio upgrades. I got some lights for the shelf back here that I didn't hook up yet, but you can probably see the reddish glow.
I love it.
I've got it for behind my monitor now too. They were $6 for these two strips on Amazon, so I was like, I'll just buy them.
No party mode on the lights today, Dan?
No, I just felt like having it on blue.
Just
The
you're
part
in
of
a
the
blue
problem is
mood.
the remote that I have for these lights up here also works on these lights, so everything gets all screwy. So I try to set up these lights, and then these also have like a manual control on them, the ones for the monitor and back here. So I try to get those set up and then do these. But I was running late when we started, so I didn't tinker with it. So let's get into what we played, shall we?
Yeah.
I will start with Mario Kart Tour. It came out, I guess it was yesterday, like really early in the morning. It's obviously Nintendo's mobile Mario Kart game, and it controls how you think it would. So when you do a race, it acceleration is automatic, so you don't have to control acceleration. It's just using left and right on your with your thumb or finger or whatever on the screen to steer, and then up and down fire stuff. So you swipe up and it'll shoot something forward. You swipe back and it shoots something backwards, or swipe down rather. Uh, Drifting is not automatic. It's something you can set up in the options. I have it to drift because I'm a drift master because of all my time playing Mario Kart. So uh, when you go left or right to steer, it automatically hops for you and starts your drift, which takes some getting used to because there's times when you just need to make a little bit of a minor turn. It doesn't work great for that, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it's fine. Um, so yeah, I mean the game controls fine and it works. It seems to work pretty well. It does have some egregious microtransaction stuff
Oh boy.
that I'll talk about. Um, couple annoyances are that when you're doing a race, the amount of stars you get based on a race are based on points, and so when you're going into a race, you pick the racer, the cart, and the parachute that you're going to use, and you get bonus points if you pick the right racer, yada yada, for what track you're using. So say you're doing the one that's in New York City. The best racer for the point, but you get two times the points if you pick Mario, if you pick the pipe frame, and then if you pick like I don't know whatever random parachute. So if you don't have that stuff, it's harder to reach the score. It has nothing to do. You get more points if you win, so that's a good thing. But it's not all based on winning. It's also based on what you use when you do the race. So that's a
Gotcha.
little bit frustrating because you have to unlock that stuff very slowly because you need gems to unlock racers, carts, and parachutes. And I think they're called rubies. They're red rubies, and you obviously get an amount for logging in every day, which will probably wear off eventually. After the game's been out for a little while. It's five five rubies to fire the mushroom cannon. It'll shoot something up in the air. It'll be something that you unlock. It's got a similar thing to Dr. Mario, where you can also level the stuff up. So if you have to get like two Bowsers to level Bowser up. And a leveled up Bowser will get more points per race. So
We'll
you
get
can more.
0.5% more points.
It is a very small amount, but yeah, there's that. Um, I think the worst part of the microtransactions things is you can pay $5.99 a month to subscribe to be able to play 200cc races.
Oh God.
Um, that's not included in the game. There's a couple other benefits to it, but it's $5 a month for Mario Kart Tour to be able to play 200cc races, which I find pretty terrible.
Do you remember when Nintendo was like anti-mobile and they're like, "Oh, it's not really our brand." I'm
Yeah,
like, I miss that.
not so much. I mean, at least they're keeping that stuff out of console. It's just on
Yeah.
mobile where, honestly, they're probably one of the worst. I think with that sort of stuff. The
Yeah.
Mario Kart stuff is pretty bad. And it's too bad because it's a pretty fun game. I've enjoyed my time with it so far. I won't be spending a dime on it. The only games I've spent money on are Pokemon Go and Harry Potter Wizards Unite. Most of the time, it's not even my money either. It's Google Play rewards credit that I get for taking surveys. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's a good game. I would suggest people download it and try it. It's fun. There is a lot of stuff that you can do without needing to spend any money. There seems to be apparently they have tracks that rotate. I haven't seen that yet because it's only been out for a couple days. But yeah, I'm progressing through the cups, and I think the top cup you need like 215 stars or something to unlock. So there's a fair amount. So every race, based on your points value, you get 1 to 5 stars. There's 3 races and then one like training thing per cup that you do. So I want to say I'm through the first like 10 cups maybe, and I've pretty well dominated. I've had a couple races like in Mario Kart, like you have where you take a shell at the very end and end up finishing sixth or whatever. But for the most part, I've done
Yeah.
pretty well, first or second most races. So yeah, that's not bad. I'll probably play it at least for a little bit until. I mean, I'm assuming I'm gonna hit a wall where you need to spend money, but I haven't seen that just yet. It would be easier to be able to unlock stuff more quickly, so you could get the points that you need to get 5 stars and everything. But yeah, not bad. So I played that. I also played probably an hour and a half of Untitled Goose Game. For those that are not familiar with Untitled Goose Game, you play as a goose in the game, and your whole the whole purpose of the game is for you to be a jerk to the people that are in this little village that you're in. It's not just about being a jerk. You do have a list of things you have to accomplish. So in the first world, you're in like or the first section, you're in like a garden, and some of the tasks you have to do is you have to quote unquote have a picnic, which means you steal a bunch of food and put it on this picnic basket. So you need to steal like some of the stuff is easy to find, like right off the bat. Like there's a I think there's a sandwich and a thermos on a bench nearby that the gardener isn't near, but he also has to steal some of the stuff out of his garden, and he's got a little like desk, so you have to distract him so that he's not watching you because he'll chase you away, um, and sneak in and steal his stuff. One of the other things that I wasn't actually able to accomplish the first time is getting the gardener to switch his hat. I was never able to figure out how to do that, but one of them is getting like spraying him with water. So you wait till he's near the sprinkler and you turn it on as a goose. There's a button to honk. There's a button to flap your wings. It's really good. It's described as like a stealth puzzle game, and that's a good way to describe it because there's some puzzle elements. There's definitely some stealth elements because, as I said, the people will see you and chase you away from whatever objective you're trying to accomplish. But it's surprisingly well done. It's a very relaxing game. Got a very peaceful ambiance, and then when you're in the thick of things, it's got a frantic piano song that almost makes you think of the Guardian music in Breath of the Wild.
Yes. I was gonna
Um,
say I'm listening to a YouTube video right now, and that was my favorite part so far is the
yeah,
piano,
yep.
the frantic.
It's good stuff. So it's a fun game. I think it's on sale on the Switch for $15. It's well worth it. It's, as I said, it's a nice relaxing game. It's a different pace, like, and then sometimes you just want to cause trouble as a goose. So I've done the first 2 worlds. I'm not sure, or first 2 areas. I'm not sure how many there are ultimately, but yeah, it's a surprisingly good game. I've enjoyed my time with it so far.
Looks interesting, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
it is very interesting. I think I said some. I don't know if I talked about it on this podcast, but I thought when the game was announced that it was a joke, but it is not a joke, and I'm glad it's not a joke because it's quite good.
It's silly.
So that's all I played. Corey, what have you got?
Nothing. I was gonna talk Hearthstone, but I don't really have much to say. The Adventures of Old Dumb or whatever is finally released.
Uh huh.
I just want to reiterate how much I enjoy the solo adventures, and I wish you guys would try them because I think it would change your opinion 100% of Hearthstone. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do have to issue a correction.
Okay.
I said that Isaac Arthur is on Lake Oneida, and I think I was thinking of the guy that does the Sleep With Me podcast. Have you ever heard that podcast?
No, I remember you talking about it though.
Just quickly, his podcast is if you have trouble sleeping, you put it on, and he just tells the most boring story full of random tangents that just make it even more boring, and it makes very little sense. And he just talks monotone and just like jumps around, and I don't know. He tells these stories for adults that are just so boring. But so you fall asleep and you don't care about what happened in the story at all. It's
It's
very
perfect.
effective.
Yeah, it's
But yeah,
perfect.
I think he lives on Oneida Lake.
Okay.
Isaac Arthur lives in Ashtabula, Ohio, on Lake Erie.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Felt it was very important to make that correction.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We don't want to be wrong on this
No,
podcast.
never, never.
Okay. Feedback. We got one piece of feedback from Idaho Jake who says, "Hey guys, just work, football, and Borderlands 3. Life is good. I did want to talk about football because we forgot to talk about football during our weeks. I mean, we have to talk about Daniel Jones. We just
I
have
didn't
to."
watch the game.
What?
Yeah, I was watching the Bills, and then
Yeah.
that was it.
Okay. Did you just not want to watch?
I didn't think anything was going on. I wasn't paying that close attention
Gotcha.
until I saw the score the next day, and I'm like, holy crap! It seemed like it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, it was intense. I'll put it that way. So, Saquon Barkley got hurt, and he's going to be out for a month or two, I
Oh,
believe. Supposed to
great.
miss 48 games. So yeah, it was a Pyrrhic victory. We'll put it that way. Um, but yeah, Daniel Jones showing what he could do. He ran for 2 touchdowns, threw for 2 touchdowns, led the Giants to late victory, which the defense almost blew. By the way, um, yeah, they scored with I think it was like a minute and a half left, and the Buccaneers offense just marched right down the field, no trouble whatsoever. Got themselves in field goal position. Short field goal. I think it was like a 32 or 33-yard field goal, and the kicker missed with I think the time ran out as he kicked the field goal. So
Oof.
it was a little bit of a lucky win, but Daniel Jones, outside of 2 fumbles, played really well. Like I said, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. He looked good running the ball, which is something Eli Manning did on very rare occasions, but not effectively, not like Daniel
He didn't
Jones did.
run the ball; he pranced the ball.
He did prance the ball, yes. You're absolutely right. So I mean, but it was cool to watch. We haven't seen aside from that week that Geno Smith started. We haven't seen. I didn't watch that game just out of protest, but we haven't seen another quarterback for the Giants in 15 years or whatever. So
Yeah.
it was weird to see, but it was also cool. I was happy for him because he took a lot of flack getting drafted as high as he did. We don't know how he's going to be ultimately, but it was nice to see that that was his statement.
Yeah.
For his first start.
I saw a tweet that I thought was appropriate the next day. The winds of change pushed that field goal wide. It's
Nice.
a way to sum up the game.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. That was our excitement. I can say for certain I know Eric is looking forward to this weekend's game. The
Oh yeah.
undefeated Bills are facing off at home against the undefeated Patriots, so that's going to be one to watch. I'm definitely going to be watching that. So
And I would imagine other than let's say northeast of New York State, the rest of the country is rooting for
root
the
for the Bills.
Bills.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Patriots usually start off bad, but they haven't done that this year. They've been fantastic from the very first game. So yeah, I think even more so this year than even every other year that people are rooting against the Patriots. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's good to have a football game you're excited to watch too. I'm really looking forward to watching that.
yeah. I mean, I was mostly this year excited to watch Saquon Barkley, but obviously he's hurt. But now I can say who knows what Daniel Jones is going to do next. So
Yeah, you got a reason to keep tuning in still.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was from
And
Jake.
we're just a week away from hockey, so
I know. I'm super pumped for hockey. Um, Borderlands 3. Have you played any more Borderlands 3, Corey?
I don't think I booted it up at all since Zelda came out.
Okay.
I definitely want to. I have such big plans to play so many video games this weekend. Because I'm not working tomorrow. I have a little work I need to do tomorrow, but I'm not going into the office,
Uh-huh.
so I'll do a lot of video gaming and my fiance is working Friday night, Saturday night, and usually I demand Sundays for myself anyway.
Uh,
So I got a lot of time coming up.
nice. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so Jake is the winner chicken dinner of the game giveaway.
Congrats, Jake.
Yeah. See if I can figure out where all this stuff is. So I did send the game last week to Beardless. I sent it right away. So that's I don't think that's on the list here.
Which game did Beardless pick? Do you remember? Pardon my yawn.
Did he pick the Swapper?
Good pick.
I think it was the Swapper, although I don't remember. All right, so Jake. Let's call up the random number generator, which I think I put on this phone. I did. Okay. All right, so 1 to 150. Come on. There we go. Okay. So the first game is 119, Jake, which is Sequence.
Sequence. Is it spelled funny?
Nope.
Or is it?
Straight
I don't
up
know anything
Sequence.
about that. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't, actually.
Sequence. Video game.
104 is Mass Effect 2, which is fantastic game.
Sequence, an abstract strategy board and card game.
Okay. I like the sound of it.
Oh, wait. No. The board and card game people sued the video game people
Oh, okay.
over the name, so that's not the right.
Gotcha.
A rhythm role-playing game? Does that sound right?
Yeah, sounds right.
Title developed by it was Xbox Live Indie Game Initiative, rhythm role-playing game.
So I rolled 116 for the next one. That was gone. So I rolled again, and it's 59, which is Kathy Rain.
Oh, that's supposed to be pretty good. I never played it. I
That's
think there's a sequel coming out too, isn't there?
I don't know. That's come up a few times though. I know we've rolled that one before.
Point and click adventures. I want to get into point and click adventures. Some of them are pretty fun. The ones where you're like playing like mini games.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
ones
it's been a while since I've played any of those, but I never minded them.
Yeah.
Next up was 90, which is also gone. So I roll again, and 134, Natural Selection 2. And then last one, 131 is gone. 19 is Screen Cheat.
Is that the one? Is that the one where you're meant to look on the other person's screen?
I don't know.
You know how when you used to play couch
Yeah.
competitive, you'd look at somebody else's screen. I feel like this game was designed like all the players are invisible on your screen except for yourself, but you can see them on their screen, so you have to look on their screen to see where they are.
That might
kinda
be.
thing.
Might be. That concept is vaguely familiar. So that could very well be.
9 out of 10 on Steam.
Nice. So yeah.
Same with Natural Selection too.
Oh wow.
Good
So yeah,
choices there.
your choices are Screen Cheat, Natural Selection 2. What was 59? Kathy Rain, Sequence, and Mass Effect 2. So let us know what you want, Jake. I have a couple back games that I owe you, so I'll probably email you at some point this weekend and see what you want to get. As for next week's episode, I don't know that we have a topic. We still have to do our fall games preview, so maybe that's what we'll do for next week's episode. Even though we started fall already, but I guess we would only need to cover October, November, and December releases at this point. So
Hit me with the good stuff, Dan. What else we got coming out?
I know the next game that I'm getting is going to be Luigi's Mansion. There's a few, like The Witcher 3 is coming to the Switch on the 15th of October. I'll be getting that at some point. I just don't know when. It probably won't be at launch.
Yeah.
All right, let's call up the release dates.
Because I have been so excited about Zelda for so long that I'm not even sure what's coming out later.
Yeah, there's some stuff.
I'm sure there's lots of stuff. I just haven't thought about it.
I know like Call of Duty is obviously coming up. Pokemon is coming up.
Eh. Oh, Trine 4. I'm excited for.
Trine 4.
That'd be a good one to do for Extra Life.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
If it's affordable, I don't want to pay $30 for it, but
All right. Cube World on the 30th of September.
mildly interested. Oh, there's a Harvest Moon game coming out October 29th.
Let's see. Destiny 2 Shadowkeep expansion is on the 4th. No, first, I'm sorry. Yeah, Trine 4 is coming out on October 8th. Ukulele and the Impossible Lair is coming out on the 8th, October 8th. That's the side-scrolling platformer that I'll probably end up getting.
Wait, am I looking at this year's games?
Overwatch and The Witcher 3 are coming out on the 15th for the Nintendo Switch.
Eh,
Plants
none of
vs.
those.
Zombies Battle for Neighborville, that's kind of a big one. That's on October 18th. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is coming out on the 25th. The Outer Worlds is coming out on the 25th.
That one I might get.
That's coming into Game Pass. You don't need to get it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play it because
Plus-
it's free.
Game
That's one I
Pass.
probably would have bought anyway, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
just get it for free.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything that I'm wanting to buy.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion on the 31st. Death Stranding is coming in November 8th. Yeah, November 15th, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Shenmue 3 on November 19th. Doom Eternal on November 22nd.
What about Jedi Fallen Order? Is that gonna be anything worth playing?
I think so. I'm reluctant because it's EA, and I do not trust EA at all to release a
No.
good game. This one looks good, but that's definitely going to be one that I wait for reviews for.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. That's pretty much most of the big things. I'm sure there'll be a few indie games filtered in there that we'll want to play. So
Yeah, there's always stuff that creeps up for sure.
yeah,
I would get Death Stranding if I had a PlayStation, just because I'm curious.
yeah. Will's the only one of us that has a PlayStation, and he is not interested in that game at all. So
What? He doesn't love the Kojima circle jerk.
no, he doesn't. He hates it more than we do. Believe it or not.
Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. Did you say that?
No.
November 14th.
Okay. That's probably going to be a Game Pass game, right?
It's on PC. It might be. Yeah, it's probably a PC Game Pass game.
Oh yeah,
I would think.
I love that. Okay. Anything else, Corey?
Nah.
Okay. That'll do it for episode 426 of the Thumbstick Athletes podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
Corey.
Thanks for listening, and get out of my basement.